Hi everyone, and welcome to Navigating Teen Life. I'm Dr. Loreta Matheo, and I'm here with our teen ambassadors.
Hi, I'm Charlie.
Hi, I'm Gabby.
Hi, I'm Sydney.
Hi, I'm Ruby.
And we're here today to talk about a very important, complex, and serious topic: sexual assault and harassment. Now, as long as there have been people around, there has been assault and harassment. And also, as long as there have been people around, it has been difficult for people who have been assaulted and harassed to get the help and the justice that they need and deserve. But fortunately now, we have #MeToo, and this movement is starting to let people know that this has been going on, and it happens to a lot of people, and that we as a society need to think about it and try to make things better.
So Dr. Matheo, can you start by explaining the differences between rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment? How do you define these terms?
So let's start with harassment, because that is a big global topic. And harassment is when someone is trying to bug you to the point of causing harm. Not just your brother or sister in the car tapping you on the shoulder. This person is harassing you to make your life difficult. When you add sexual to that, that means it's sexual harassment, and the person is using sexuality in their tool to try and get to you. And that's, of course, not okay.
So is sexual harassment like if someone sends you a sexual photo, whether it be someone from school or your boyfriend, or if someone asks you for a nude photo?
So that's a really good question, because it is a little bit complex. If someone sends you a photo that is sexually explicit and you did not want it, then that is harassment. If someone takes a photo of you and you didn't even know they did it, and they send that photo to someone, and that is meant to cause harm, then that is also sexual harassment. And also, you guys should be aware that if this involves someone who is a minor under the age of 18, that can be considered pornography. And if you're sending that to someone, then you are trafficking in pornography, which of course is illegal. So now, let's talk about something that goes a step further. When someone is actually in your space and bothering you from a sexual point of view, they may be touching you, they may be harming you in a sexual way, then we call that sexual assault. And that, of course, is never okay. Rape is when sexual assault goes to another level and there's actually penetration. There is either vaginal or anal penetration. We call that rape. It's very important to know that it's never okay. No means no. It takes two people to say yes, but only one person to say no.
So if you actually know the person, say a boyfriend, who wants to do something that maybe you don't want to do, is that still considered sexual harassment or rape?
Well, it's a great question, because it can be sometimes. It's really important to know that, as I said, no means no. And it doesn't matter if it's a boyfriend, a girlfriend. People tend to understand pretty clearly when there is random stranger rape. But it gets a little bit complicated for people sometimes when they know the person. So you may have had a sexual relationship with someone already, but on this particular day, you do not want to have sex with them. And if they force you to have sex, that could be either assault or it could be rape. There's another situation where sometimes someone has power over you. So maybe it's your boss, maybe you're an intern, and someone is asking you to do something you don't want to do so that you can stay in that program or you could get promoted. And by asking you to do a sexual thing that you don't want to do, they could be, in fact, harassing you sexually, and that can even go on to sexual assault or rape sometimes.
So Dr. Matheo, you were talking about how if someone in a higher authority is pressuring you to do something, it can be a lot harder to say no. What would you do in that scenario if you're someone on the outside and you don't feel like you want to tell the truth because it gets somebody in a lot of trouble?
Well, that's a really good point to bring up, because I think it affects a lot of young people. Young people can sometimes feel really powerless in these situations, but you know when something doesn't feel comfortable to you. And you might not be sure, is this a situation of harassment or not, and what should I do? You know, the person may be perfectly fine in other situations, but in this one time, they're making you feel uncomfortable, maybe in a sexual way. So what I would say is this. You might try talking to the person and say, you know, the other day when we were getting coffee, I felt a little bit uncomfortable about what you said. Could we talk about that? So that's not so easy for everybody to do, okay? And if you don't feel comfortable with that, that tells you something. It tells you that the dynamic is not quite right. Because if this person really was so great and caring about you, you would feel comfortable talking to them. So if you don't feel comfortable talking to them, then something's wrong. And when something's wrong, you need to get help to make it better, because you're not alone in this. I would say talk to your parents, talk to a trusted adult, talk to your pediatrician. Never feel like you're alone. And it's never okay for someone to make you feel uncomfortable. It is not your job to worry about whether the person will get in trouble or not. We have laws to figure that part out. What you need to know is that you don't feel comfortable with what's going on.
So, Dr. Matheo, does no always mean no? Because I know a lot of the times in movies that someone will say no, and if someone has a bigger body advantage over that person, no doesn't always mean no.
Real life and the movies are not the same thing, right? No actually means no. And I understand that in the movies and in social media that may not always be the case. And it might seem that it means just try harder or use your physicality over someone. That is absolutely not okay. Now, there's some situations that get complicated for no. One of those is when someone is what we call incapacitated. They're not able to say no. We do understand that in the state of Pennsylvania, you cannot have alcohol under the age of 21. But every once in a while, someone does. If someone is drunk, they may not know that they should be saying no. They may not understand the situation. And when someone is drunk, they are incapacitated, and the law says that you may not have sex with that person. So here, no doesn't even come up because the person can't say no. But it's also very important to know that if you can't say no, it's still not your fault, right? Some people say, well, you know, the young person was dressed a certain way, and so they were kind of asking for it. That's not okay. It doesn't matter how you dress. It's not okay for someone to take advantage of you in a sexual manner or in any manner.
So Dr. Matheo, it usually seems like girls are the target for sexual harassment of this sort, but can it also happen to guys?
You're absolutely correct. It can happen to guys. And the truth about harassment and assault is that it doesn't know gender. It doesn't matter whether someone identifies as male, female, is trans, is asexual. People are people, and people matter. And harming people is never okay. And so sometimes it can be even harder for someone who identifies as a guy to come forward, because stereotypically we're always thinking about it being a female who's being harmed. But as I said, people are people, harm is harm, never okay, and you need to get help.
So, Dr. Matheo, in a circumstance, whether it be if I'm going out with friends or going to a party, and I don't want to be involved with anyone sexually, so how would I prevent anything like that to happen to me?
Well, you know, in medicine, we love to talk about prevention, so I'm glad you brought that up. If you're going to be someplace and you're not sure what's going to go on, and you know what you don't want to go on, I always suggest it's a good idea to have a buddy system, right? You're going out with a bunch of friends, maybe talk about it before. Hey guys, let's watch out for each other. And you can do a couple of things. You can be the Eagle Scout and you're watching what's going on, and you go up to a friend who maybe is starting to go somewhere with someone you don't think they should be going. You go up to them and say, hey, you know what? I remember your mom and dad said it's time to be home by like midnight, so we should just leave. Or you can have something with texting, right? You can have a 911 kind of text that you and just your friends know about. And if you're feeling uncomfortable, you're getting unwanted attention for someone, you can text one of your friends, and then your friend knows to come over. So prevention is really important if you can do it.
But what if something does happen to us or someone that we know?
So that's really hard, and that's really sad. And the first thing I want you to know is that you're not alone. It's really important to talk to people about what has happened, because there are a lot of people around who want and know how to take care of you and how to help you physically and emotionally and legally if that's the situation. So you can talk to your family, you can talk to your pediatrician. There are also many organizations that are devoted to taking care of people who are victims of sexual violence. Here in Pittsburgh, we have something called PAR, which stands for Pittsburgh Action Against Rape, and they will help you if you feel that you need that. There are lots of places that you can go all over this country in any city where you live to get help if you've been a victim. So please don't ever be silent. Please don't ever feel it's your fault. Please always know you can get help. And by you helping yourself, you're also helping other people. Because we know that people who are predatory, people who attack people, they will do that again and again. And it's not your job to save the world. But it is important to think about taking care of yourself. And by taking care of yourself, you do help just a little bit of saving the world.
Thank you so much for talking to us about this, Dr. Matheo. It's a tough subject to talk about, but it's very important, especially to teens, and we definitely need to keep this conversation going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for watching, and remember that you're not alone.